Hey class, what's going on? I'm showing up on your screen with my screen. And so today it's actually Disney Day, so I'm wearing my Mickey Mouse shirt. Didn't know if you guys knew there was Spirit Week this week. This is my Mickey Mouse shirt that I was going to wear, but then pandemic happened. So we didn't get to go to Disney World. But um, that's neither here nor there. But today we're going to be doing some stuff with Discovery Ed. I know it may not be as fun as having me there in class, but I hope that it's actually helping you learn and that you're actually asking some good questions. So um, I wanted to not only say hey and what's up, but also kind of show you guys what these assignments really look like. And so one of them you're basically going to be doing in Discovery Ed, both of them. And then there's a small kind of feedback assignment I have that I'll assign you after posting this video. So in Classroom, you're going to get on and you'll see this. I haven't posted it yet because I haven't added this video to it that you're watching right now. But in Discovery Ed, there's a few things that I want us to look at. So I'll keep moving my face around here. I hope that's okay and not making you sick. I'm going to close this and then I want to go back and I'm going to show you the first part of today's assignment in Discovery Ed is the very first link that I gave you. So yesterday we did the engage portion, which is where we basically learned about the biosphere, the hydrosphere, the geosphere, and the atmosphere, and then kind of talked a little bit about that leading question that we discussed on Friday before I got quarantined over the weekend. But this is a reading. There are 3 pages here, and the entire reading here has your new vocab words in it. So we're focusing on the hydrosphere and the freshwater and saltwater kind of interactions. So we're looking at the hydrosphere, and specifically freshwater and groundwater is some of our conversation. Those are 2 of your new vocabulary words. As you're reading, you can watch these videos. So if you have headphones, it's a great day to plug those in and use them. And then there are some things to work on. So there's videos to watch and information to read. I would encourage you to do both. And then it's going to talk about what are the causes of changes in the hydrosphere. And that's really what we're focusing on today. So the first part is more reading, and then there's these little kind of comprehension quizzes at the bottom, and you can answer those as you read. You got page 1 here with videos and text, and then page 2, which is continuing to talk about freshwater, groundwater, and then now we're getting into how the geosphere and the hydrosphere interact, which is the big topic for today. We have these 2 systems of Earth, and they interact because there's a transfer of energy and matter, depending on kind of our situations with the weather or with kind of some of the things that can happen on Earth. And so we're discussing those changes and how they affect one another. How do changes in the hydrosphere affect the geosphere in terms of living things, in terms of access to fresh water? How do changes in the geosphere affect the hydrosphere? And then where does this water come from? Well, actually, in the interactive, you're going to see that the water cycle occurs also in the atmosphere. So we're really looking at water specifically, and then how water is transferred through our systems on Earth to affect the living things. And then it talks about diffusion here, and so this is actually a similar activity we were going to do in class, not quite with the ink and water, but if I have time to demonstrate it at home, I'll show you how diffusion works. And that's one of our vocab words from last week. But you can have gases and liquids and solids, obviously, that are diffused. Solids are only diffused when they're in a solution. So salt is a good example of this. And we talked about how a rise in a sea level will bring salt into the biosphere on land and how they can affect plants. We kind of talked about that, how they dehydrate the cells and can actually kill plants because they're not the type of nutrients plants actually need. So we've kind of started that conversation. I would like you guys to finish reading this and answer the questions at the bottom. And then this section right here talks about rising sea levels. So this is an example. And now we have wells. So we're not just talking about plants. We're talking about how does saltwater changes affect, humans. So if we have a well near salt water, we can actually not say poison, but we can actually have fresh water that's no longer drinkable as sea levels rise. And this happens a lot on the coast in areas like Louisiana and Florida, where there are kind of mixing zones or dispersion zones of salt and fresh water. And so the communities there have to find ways to protect their community from rising sea levels. So after we finish reading this and answering the questions at the end of the text, there is a second link that you're going to see. And so I'm actually going to go ahead and click on that. It's right here. And I'm logged in, so it'll pull up. And the second link is an interactive. So this is not like a textbook, but it's more like it's an interactive kind of thing. And you can actually, if you need to listen, you can click this sound button here.
What is groundwater?
And
when water cycles back to Earth in the form of rain or snow, some of it is lost as surface runoff that flows into rivers, streams, or lakes. However, a large portion of water that reaches Earth's surface seeps into the ground. It's called groundwater. Below Earth's surface,
okay, and I could turn that off, but you can listen. If you need someone to read this to you, there's an option right here, this microphone, and the information will be read to you. So what I like about this is you can visually see what is going on when they are talking about the portions of kind of groundwater. So this is, where does the groundwater, where does it come from? Well, it comes from the water cycle. Part of it is already there, but fresh water can be trapped in our soil in the geosphere. And so we have this situation where groundwater is a great example of how the hydrosphere and geosphere interact as two systems. And really, when we say recharging precipitation here, this is water that comes from the atmosphere. So you have all three of Earth systems interacting here. So what I'd like you to do is go ahead and go through each of these. You can start with what is groundwater, then you go to the Explorer. You can look at reservoirs and groundwater and basically click through these. There's information here, so don't just watch the pictures, but actually listen or read what's here for you. And then at the end, there's a little quiz, which I'd actually like you to take just to see if you know or can remember what you learned through this activity today. And it's just kind of a test. So, yeah, I mean, it's not for points, but it's just to help us learn kind of what's important about water, groundwater in particular, and how this hydrosphere and geosphere work together. So we're going to go ahead. This is our second activity for today. Again, you're just going to take this quiz just like you did the activities at the end of your first reading. And then last but not least, I'm going to give you a question. And basically what I want you to do is I'm going to basically ask how the geosphere and hydrosphere interact and what are some ways that they affect one another. And I just want you to, in your own words, answer that question. So you can talk about rising sea level. You can talk about drought or precipitation. You can talk about groundwater. You can talk about wells. But I just want you to give me some examples from your reading today of how the hydrosphere can affect the geosphere or vice versa. So how does the geosphere affect the hydrosphere? And that might be salt getting in the water. That might be a lack of water. That might be just not having fresh water because of certain things from the soil contaminating the water. But I want you, in your own words, to answer that question of how these two of Earth systems kind of affect one another. What are some examples of how they affect one another? You might want to consider energy and the transfer of energy. So, like when water is heated, where does it go? What happens to it? And why would that affect the amount of groundwater in our uh, geosphere, or what's going on there? So, it might take some time to answer this and really think, but that's the whole point. I want you to use all the things you learned today in our assignments to answer this question, and it will be for a small grade just to make sure that you guys are doing it and that I'm seeing your learning. So I miss y'all. Hope you're having a good time, at least without me. I know it's not as fun as if I was there because, I'm the coolest, right? Not really. You guys are actually. So really miss y'all. I'll see you tomorrow. Good luck with today's assignment.